Welcome back to the City of English, the place where English stops feeling like a wall and starts feeling like a window.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Anna, and today we're building something together, a clear, simple, unshakable understanding of be, been, and being.
And I'm Anna. And today we're building something together. A clear, simple, unshakable understanding of be, been, and being.
Let's walk into the city.
Okay, Anna, let's start right at the beginning, because a lot of learners think these three words are separate verbs, like they're unrelated.
The most important? That's a big claim. It really is the most important because to be describes existence, identity, feelings, states. I am tired. She is a teacher. They are happy. Every one of those sentences uses a form of be.
So think of be as the root, like the trunk of a tree, and been and being are branches that grow from the same trunk.
I love that image. Let's start with the trunk itself, the word be.
Be is the base form. We use it after words like will, can, must, should, and after to.
For example, I will be at the office by 9, or you should be more careful, or I want to be a better listener.
Notice something? Be never changes based on who's speaking. It doesn't become bees or being in these sentences. It just stays as be.
Exactly. If you see will, can, could, should, must, may, might, or to right before the verb, be is almost always your answer.
Let's move to the second branch, been. This one causes the most confusion, honestly.
It really does. Been is the past participle of be, and it only appears with helping verbs, specifically have, has, or had.
So you'll never see been standing alone in a sentence. It always needs a partner.
Right. I have been to Paris. She has been sick since Monday. They had been waiting for 2 hours before the bus arrived.
Notice the pattern. Have, has, had, plus been. That combination creates the perfect tenses. Present perfect, past perfect.
And been often talks about experience or a situation that connects the past to another point in time, either now or another moment in the past.
For example, I have been to Italy 3 times. That means at some point in my life, up until now, I visited Italy. The experience connects to the present.
Perfect example. Now, here's a mistake almost every learner makes at some point. They confuse been with gone.
Oh, this one is so common.
She has gone to the market means she is still there. She left and she hasn't come back yet.
But she has been to the market means she went and she already came back. The action is completely finished.
That difference feels small, but in real conversation, it can completely change what people understand.
So remember, gone means still away. Been means went and returned, or simply an experience happened at some point.
Beautiful. Now, let's walk over to the third branch, being. Being is the ing form, and it has 2 very different jobs, which is part of why it confuses people.
First job, it's used in continuous tenses, when something is happening right now, or was happening at a specific moment, or will be happening in the future.
For example, I am being very careful with this project, or he was being unusually quiet during the meeting.
Notice something interesting there. Being often describes behavior, a temporary way someone is acting, not their permanent personality.
That's such an important detail. He is rude means generally, as a person, he is rude. That's who he is. But he is being rude means right now, in this moment, his behavior is rude. Maybe he's usually kind, but today something changed.
So being adds a sense of right now, or temporarily, to a description of behavior.
The second job of being is as a noun-like form, a gerund. Being honest is important to me. Being a parent changes your perspective.
In these sentences, being starts the sentence like a noun, almost like the word honesty or parenthood could.
So, to summarize the 3 branches simply, be is the base form, used after modal verbs and to. Been is the past participle, always paired with have, has, or had. And being is the ing form, used for temporary action or as a noun-like subject.
Trunk, then 3 branches. be, the root form, been paired with have, has, had, being describing temporary action or behavior, or starting a sentence like a noun.
And once you see that structure, the confusion really does disappear. It's not 3 random words. It's one verb wearing 3 different outfits for 3 different situations.
I like that. 3 outfits for 3 occasions.
Let's bring this to life with a story, because grammar rules are helpful, but a real moment, a real feeling, that's what actually helps it stick in your memory.
This story is about a woman named Elena.
Elena had an important job interview on a Monday morning. She had prepared for weeks. She practiced her answers in the mirror. She researched the company late into the night.
But the night before the interview, she felt something familiar creeping in. Nervousness about her English, specifically about these 3 little words.
She kept whispering to herself, "Have you ever been to an interview like this before?" And then she'd stop. "No, that's wrong. Have you ever been?"
She practiced the sentence again and again. I have been preparing for this role for a long time. She said it slowly, carefully, until it felt natural on her tongue.
The next morning, Elena walked into the interview room. Her hands were a little cold, but her mind felt clear.
The interviewer, a calm man with kind eyes, smiled and said, "So, Elena, tell me, have you ever worked in a fast-paced environment before?"
And Elena, remembering her practice from the night before, answered clearly, "Yes, I have been working in fast-paced environments for the last 5 years. I've been managing multiple projects at once, and I truly enjoy that kind of energy."
The interviewer nodded, impressed. He then asked, "And how would your previous manager describe you?"
Elena thought for a moment, then said, "My manager once told me I was being too hard on myself. She said I was always being so careful, so detail-focused, that I sometimes forgot to celebrate my own success."
Notice what Elena did there. She used being perfectly to describe temporary behavior, not "I am hard on myself" as a permanent trait, but a specific pattern her manager noticed.
Exactly. And near the end of the interviewer asked one final question. "What do you want to be 5 years from now?"
Elena smiled, this time without hesitation. "I want to be a leader who helps her team grow. I want to be someone people trust."
Clean, clear, confident. Be used correctly after want to be, describing her future identity.
A week later, Elena got the call. She got the job.
And later, telling her friend the story, she said something beautiful. She said, "I've been scared of these 3 words my whole life, but once I understood them, they stopped being my enemy. They became my tool."
That's the moment, isn't it? When a grammar rule stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like something that actually works for you.
Be, been, being. Elena used all 3 naturally in one conversation because she practiced with real sentences, not just rules on a page.
And that's exactly what we want for you listening right now. Not perfect memorization, real, natural, confident use.
Let's slow down now and highlight some useful words and phrases from today's episode, the kind you can use in your own conversations this week.
First word, confidence. Noun, a feeling of trust in your own abilities. Example, Elena spoke with confidence during her interview.
Second word, hesitation. Noun, a short pause caused by doubt or uncertainty. Example, she answered without hesitation.
Third word, fast-paced. Adjective, moving or happening quickly, full of activity. Example, I enjoy working in a fast-paced environment.
Fourth word, temporary. Adjective, lasting for only a short time, not permanent. Example, his bad mood was only temporary.
Fifth phrase, to creep in. Phrasal verb, when a feeling slowly and quietly begins to appear. Example, nervousness began to creep in the night before the interview.
Sixth word, detail-focused. Adjective, paying very close attention to small parts of a task. Example, my manager said I was being too detail-focused.
Seventh phrase, to stick in your memory. Idiom, when something is easy to remember because it made a strong impression. Example, a real story helps grammar stick in your memory.
And finally, unshakable. Adjective, very strong, firm, and not easily disturbed or destroyed. Example, by the end of this episode, you'll have unshakable confidence with these words.
Try using 2 or 3 of these words today in a message to a friend or even just in your own thoughts describing your day.
All right, let's turn this into one simple, memorable rule you can carry with you.
Here it is. 3 quick questions to ask yourself every time you're unsure which form to use.
Question 1. Is there a modal verb like will, can, should, must, or the word to right before it? If yes, use be.
I will be there. You should be honest. I want to be successful.
Question 2. Is there have, has, or had right before it? If yes, use been.
I have been busy. She has been waiting. They had been friends for years.
Question 3. Is it describing something happening right now, temporarily, or starting a sentence like a subject? If yes, use being.
He is being unusually quiet. She was being very kind to me. Being honest matters.
Modal or to, be. Have, has, or had, been. Right now or temporary behavior, or as a subject, being.
Say that a few times and it becomes almost automatic. Your brain starts recognizing the pattern before you even finish the thought.
Now it's your turn. Here's this week's listener challenge.
Write 3 sentences about your own life. 1 using be, 1 using been, and 1 using being.
For example, you might write, I want to be a confident English speaker. I have been practicing every day this week. I am being patient with myself as I learn.
Say your 3 sentences out loud at least twice. Speaking them, not just writing them, is what helps the pattern truly settle into your memory.
And if you feel brave, share your sentences in the comments below. We genuinely read them and we love seeing how you're growing.
So today we walked through the entire family of be, the root and its 2 branches, been and being.
Be after modals or to, been after have, has, or had, being for right now or temporary behavior, or as a subject.
And we saw Elena carry all 3 words into a real conversation with real confidence in a moment that truly mattered to her.
That's what we want for you too. Not perfect grammar, real natural confidence.
Thank you for spending this time with us in the City of English.
If this episode helped you, please subscribe and share it with someone else who's learning English too. It genuinely helps our small city grow.
Keep practicing, keep speaking.
And remember, every word you learn is a new street in your city of English. See you in the next episode.